guys, welcome back. Today we're talking about Wicked Part 2, Wicked for Good. Much better. Today we're talking about Wicked for Good. Is anyone else annoyed? Raise your hand if you're annoyed, and it's me. Okay? I'm the annoyed one because, as you might notice, I'm no longer in my amazing Glendified pink outfit, and I'm in mourning. I'm in a black sweater vest because I'm mourning the audio files that were corrupted from this video that I filmed. And let's dive right in to what was good and what I liked about Wicked Part 2, because it was so good, guys. Overall, it was so good. I loved this movie. I loved the sequel. Personally, I am an Act 2 of Wicked Truther. I know there are a lot of people who don't like the second act as much. They think it's not good. I understand why. Personally, I just can't relate. I like the higher stakes. I like that enhanced feel and vibe of everything. It just really works for me. And I think that this movie did a wonderful job adapting Act 2 of the stage musical. You know, it often does get critiqued, like I said, and so for better or for worse, this movie did adapt it very well. It felt like I was watching Act 2, even though they added and changed a lot of things. And come on, let's talk about Ariana and Cynthia. When they announced Ariana Grande, people were skeptical, but then the trailers started coming out, and the first movie came out, and we were all like, oh, that is amazing peak casting that will go down in history, and it was. It truly was. And they were both so good in this second visit to these characters in this world and these roles, and I just think that, you know, it was really fun to be able to see them in the second outing where they have, you know, grown into the roles more, because I'm assuming for the most part they did film this movie second. They filmed them at the same time, I know, but you know, you could really feel that they actually found these characters and they grew into them, and that was really amazing. And while we're talking about casting, I have to talk about Jonathan Bailey. He was amazing as Fiero in this part too. Not that he was bad in the first one. In fact, he has more singing and dancing in the first one because of Dancing Through Life. But in this one, he gets to have a lot more character, and there were a lot of moments I just really loved. When they were in Munchkinland and he gets taken away by the guards, and Glinda's like, and he's like, I'm so sorry. That hit me in my heart. That hit me in my heart. And it hit him in his heart, but it hit Bach in his heart. I know that's right. Because it was just good. His performance was really good. It was better than it was in the first movie. And I thought that that was so awesome. As Long as You're Mine, I'm not an As Long as You're Mine truther. It was amazing here. And part of that was because of how good Jonathan Bailey was and how much he brought to the role. And I have to say, I think something that happened with the first movie was that Ariana Grande almost outshined Cynthia Erivo in many ways because of how well received she was, even though the first movie was definitely focused on Elphaba. And I think this movie actually has the opposite problem, or just an opposite thing happening, where Cynthia Erivo's scenes and songs actually were the best parts of the movie, even though this part 2 does seem to be a little bit more focused on Glinda. And that's okay. I mean, No Good Deed and For Good were both amazing, and obviously Glinda is involved in For Good. But No Good Deed was a showstopper, and it really lived up to the hype of the Broadway musical. In fact, I think that I would say I really fathomed it for the first time leading into the release of Wicked for Good, and so getting it so well delivered in this movie, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. What can I say? No good deed goes unpunished. Amen. I also liked the new additions to the movie, especially in the scene work. You know, having the wedding scene really expanded upon and letting us see more of that really helped me get into the shoes of these characters more, which I think is something that you lose a little bit in the Act 2 of the Broadway production. Adding Glinda into Wonderful was genius. Whoever said to add Glinda into Wonderful deserves beautiful, beautiful raises and paychecks and wage boosts. And I hope that they live a long, happy, prosperous life, because that was a genius idea. It makes so much sense that Elphaba would say yes to the wizard if Glinda was also there. That's her friend. That's her bestie friend. Of course, she would get swept up in it for a moment when Glinda's there. It almost seems obvious. Like, why was she not always in that scene? Amen. And the closet scene after For Good, tears. Tears, because that was so impactful. And that's just one of the beauties of this being in a movie format rather than a stage format, because you couldn't get that emotion and that close up on Ariana's face that you get in there in the stage version. This is a great example of how they used the film format to their advantage, because they didn't just adapt the musical, they added things that the film format suits better, and it really, really was awesome, and I loved it. Also, I loved the way they changed the ending. The ending shot being a reference to the Playbill cover, fire, and Glinda on the roof with the Grimmery and Elphaba turning around because she knew she could sense it. That was powerful. I just think that it was really good, and it also was helpful, I think, because we're in a place in the world that's different than when Wicked was first released, and I think that there's a lot of room for misinterpretation of what this story actually is about and what it actually means now, and I don't think they want that to happen to people. The point isn't that Glinda's evil and bad and she's mean and she's corrupt until the very end when she finally comes around. The point is that this is a story of growth for both of them, but they both have good hearts. Now, I do need to say, as we enter the negative section, that these two new songs were not perfect. Glinda's song, The Girl in the Bubble, should have been a power ballad. It should have been akin to Wizard and I and No Good Deed, because Glinda doesn't have a power ballad in the show ever. And a lot of people will say, that's what the role's written for, whatever, whatever. I do not think that what they added was up to the level of the other songs that we have come to know and be powerful solos for these characters. So if they wanted it to be a solo, they should have made it a big solo moment for her and not this kind of like solemn ballad. I wanted a power ballad. That's what I want for Glinda, and I am kind of sad we didn't get that. But where I really think they missed an opportunity was with Elphaba's song. That song was melodically so beautiful, and it has references to The Wiz, which I thought was super amazing and powerful, but they should have turned it into an ensemble number with the animals. Elphaba rarely gets a chance to lead an ensemble number because she is an outcast, so it would have been really amazing and really great for her character to get to lead an ensemble number here with an ensemble of characters that she does fit in with and she's not an outcast with, that she fights for them and she fights for their rights. So she could have led this song, and then by the end the animals could have gotten swept up into it and sang with her, there's no place like home. Right, right, right. And in general, that just is what I feel about both of these two songs, is that they weren't big enough numbers. The second act lacks big numbers like Defying Gravity, What Is This Feeling, all those type of things, Dancing Through Life. And so they should have used these new songs as an opportunity to introduce a new big number instead of making these super low energy character beats, even though textually they were very smart and very good additions. Also, the opening song was new. There were elements taken from other songs in the Wicked musical and other elements taken from little musical moments in Act 2, but it was a new song as it was compiled in this movie. And if they wanted to change the opening, they should have left it as Thank Goodness and made that a bigger song with bigger ensemble and choreography and really let Ariana shine in that solo section. But they didn't do that. Instead, they just moved Thank Goodness back, and they actually made it smaller than it is in the original production. And okay, I'm gonna admit I'm biased because Thank Goodness is my favorite song in the original Broadway musical, but I was a little disappointed. I think Ariana did great with the big, iconic, there are bridges you crossed you didn't know you crossed until you crossed. That was iconic, of course. She did so well at that, but I would have loved them to let it be the big opener of the movie and just reorchestrate it and have the ensemble be bigger and add in more sections if they needed to, because I think that would have served the story better. And it would have served this movie better in general, that's being criticized for having pacing issues, if they put a big opening number at the beginning instead of a medley that was subpar at best. It was fine. It wasn't horrible, but it was subpar. And let's talk about the pacing, because besides the lack of big musical numbers, I think another thing that would have really helped this pacing is if it would have really honed in on plot beats that it feels like it skimmed past. I'm talking about Wicked Witch of the East, all of the Nessa and Bach stuff, March of the Witch Hunters, the stuff with Dorothy, etc., etc., it really skims by these things because the original Act 2 skims by these things. But the original Act 2 is an hour long. This movie is 2 hours and 17 minutes long, and it could have been longer if they wanted it to be because they knew it was going to be a success. So we were not in a time crunch, and we could have properly developed these things in a way that would have been much more powerful. I feel bad for the actors that play Bach and Nessa because some people are saying their performances are bad, but they aren't. They weren't given room to breathe. They could have made Wicked Witch of the East a big number for her. It didn't have to be extended at all. They could have just made it visually more striking, more lighting, all of these things. And March of the Witch Hunters was really great, I thought, but it could have been even better. It could have been even more of a set piece, but they didn't make it those. And they shot themselves in the foot by doing that because they leaned too heavily into Elphaba Glinda that they kind of robbed other characters of the development that they could have had in this extended movie version. It seems that they were very conscious of what the movie format could add to the story, but then they didn't use that to add to the secondary characters. And that's my last problem with it, is the elephants in the room. MM = WW. Michelle Yeoh and Jeff Goldblum were miscast in this movie, and I love both of them. They are both amazing actors. Michelle Yeoh especially, I love her. She earned that Oscar 2 years ago. It was amazing to see her in that role and to see her receive that recognition. This was not the role for her because she's not a singer, and this role requires singing, and every time she sang, it took me and everyone I know that has seen this movie out of the movie. That's just not what you want in a musical, and it's not worth it. And I love her, and she was so great, and she tried, and she's not a bad actress. This just wasn't the role for her. And Jeff Goldblum was good in the acting scenes, but he wasn't a strong enough singer. And since I love what they did to Wonderful so much, it would have been nice to have a good, really strong singer sing Wonderful with Glinda. But it just, made it fall a little bit flat in areas because he couldn't even hold the high notes and the long notes. It was really frustrating, even though I love both of them so much. But honestly, even all of these cons that I have not ruined this story or this musical or this movie for me at all. I rated it 4 stars on my Letterboxd account because I thought it was really strong and really good in a lot of ways still, and I do have a soft spot for the second half of Wicked. I feel very blessed that we even get to see this story adapted to the big screen with so much success and care and love and with such great casting for the most part. I mean, it's awesome. It's a once in a lifetime thing, and I'm glad that I've gotten to experience it and that it's such a moment online. I'm gonna miss this Wicked era. I'm gonna miss the pink and green. I'm gonna miss the. We don't need to be too sad because my YouTube channel is not going anywhere. You can subscribe, you can like. Please comment who your favorite character from Wicked is or what your favorite song is in either of the acts, either of the movies. And you know what? I'll see you in a clock tick because Stranger Things Season 5 comes out today and I'm going to be yapping about it a lot. Goodbye!